Alright, I'm back. So for Thief. Thief is got some exciting changes. There's a new trait, Grandmaster trait, that is good for Thief. Over. First gear. The build is obviously going to be full Berserker with Scholar Runes for max CS. Weapons that you're going to want is Sword Pistol for fighting against trash mobs. I use Knight and Force. I also have a Sword of Bloodlust for stacks. And I have an Undead Pistol that I will swap with my Knight Pistol when I'm in a Ra. Part Sword Pistol. And then Dagger is your main single target DPS. If you're fighting against a boss, Dagger is the best get as far as Thief goes. Target DPS. Alright, so moving on. I also would recommend keeping a short bow. There's just certain situations where it is useful and can do useful things. In terms of stacking stealth, stacking might, other short bow. I got a Stonecleaver short bow out of a chest. It is awful Valkyries and not Berserkers, but I don't really use a short bow for the DPS. I just use it for the utility. But as far as traits go, let's go. Alright, so the first trait up in Deadly Arts is Sundering Strikes. Critical hits have a chance to cause Vuln, 50%. You are going to want to have this trait. Helps your team stack Vuln. Makes it less necessary to have a engineer in the party. And the Vuln is... Lotus Poison. Weakness when you poison, not so useful. Dagger Training. We take this for the 5% damage. With your backstabs and auto attacks, this is going to be a good trait overall. If you're in a situation where you know you're not going to be using your daggers for whatever reason, you can trade this for something else. Combined Training works with Pistol Whips pretty well. You could even take Mug. I don't know. I don't really care for it. You could bring Improvisation if you're not using it as your Grandmaster. Proposed Weakness is a 10% damage boost. It's a pretty boring trait, but boring damage traits are good. Here's our new toy, Revealed Training. Gain extra power when striking an enemy from stealth. Get plus 200 damage when you have the Revealed debuff. That is really good. You will use that after a backstab. You'll do Cloak and Dagger, backstab, and then you'll get the Revealed buff. Hopefully there's a trash mob out here I can find. Yeah, you see you get the Revealed debuff. It's good. Bonus power. Anyway, that's... after every backstab you get the Revealed debuff, you get plus 200 power. This goes a long way to making up for the Ferocity nerf for the Thief. Good trait. Does it apply to the backstab? No, it applies to the attacks after the backstab. I believe that you can it'll apply for the auto attack chain and one attack after. It's a pretty good buff for your DPS overall. I definitely think it's worth using most of the time. However, the exception to when you don't want to take this is when you have an Ellie in your party. If you have an Ellie in your party, the Ellie will often be dropping a Lightning Hammer, an Ice Bow, or a Fiery Greatsword. If the Ellie is dropping conjured weapons and you are picking them up, you want to take Improvisation. Improvisation will give you a 10% damage boost while you are carrying a Fiery Greatsword or an Ice Bow. This means that you, while carrying a Fiery Greatsword or an Ice Bow, are the top DPS character in the game if you have improvisation. So base this around your party comp. I would recommend, if you have an Ellie in your group, kind of working it out beforehand that whether you'll be picking up the extra stuff, and take the improvisation if need be. Abe is saying switch dagger training out for improvisation. That depends. If you have a way to get, if you can stealth and fiery rush, sure, then that makes sense. But these are kind of mutually exclusive. I don't know if I do that. But yeah, I mean, you can do a little tricky combos where you switch that for improvisation, you stealth yourself, and then get the revealed buff and do a fiery rush for even more damage. Yeah, that definitely would work. But that requires quite a bit of coordination with your party. But definitely. So critical strikes. Keen Observer. We'll start with Keen Observer. It increases your crit chance by 5% while you have your health above the Scholar threshold. So that's pretty good. Side strikes, 7% crit chance when flanking. That basically means when you're either in the side arc, the rear arc, or the other side arc, you get the extra crit chance. Good trait. Opportunist. Critical hits have a chance to restore initiative. There is a 5-second internal cooldown. Wow, they really wrecked that. But this was a really good trait. It's still pretty decent. Helps keep your initiative up. Practice tolerance. There's really nothing better to take here. Some people will take signet use. Get an initiative back when you activate a signet. I mean, sure, go ahead. I like practice tolerance. It just gives you a little extra vitality, which, as you can see, as a thief, you need. But overall, you can switch that with signet use if that's your thing. I dig the practice tolerance, though. First strikes. Damage is increased while your initiative is over the threshold. The way that this works is you can't cloak and dagger, backstab, auto attack chain, cloak and dagger as soon as the revealed buff goes away. If you want to maintain first strikes as long as possible, the optimal rotation is cloak and dagger, backstab, auto attack chain, and then the first 2 attacks of the auto attack chain before you cloak and dagger again. It'll maintain your first strikes buff as long as possible into a fight. It is pretty good. And then Executioner, obviously this is a huge damage buff. You really feel it when the target gets to 50% health. Your damage just starts going through the... Trickery, Kleptomaniac, stealing gives you initiative. When your initiative gets close to the barrier to lose first strikes, you should steal to get your initiative back above. Give you more damage boost. And then flanking strikes increase damage by 5% while flanking a foe. This is pretty much the standard DPS dungeon and fractal build. I would recommend doing that. There's other things sometimes people go 15 for feline grace and acrobatics. That's pretty rough. The shadow art, infused shadow, is, I mean, it's okay for sustained DPS, but I think overall in shorter fights the flanking strikes will be better. Rumpo asks, would you say critical strikes is better than practice tolerance DPS wise? Yeah, that's, I mean, obviously critical haste is obviously better than practice tolerance DPS wise. The issue I have with critical haste is that thief DPS is limited by the revealed debuff, right? So if you have the revealed debuff up, all critical haste is going to allow you to do is get a couple more auto attacks in. I mean, it is a DPS increase, don't get me wrong, whereas practice tolerance is not, it doesn't have anything to do with DPS. So you could bring this, but I think more often than not, this trait isn't super noticeable. I'm just not a fan of it. So for skills, utility skills, I almost always go into every dungeon like this with Signet of Agility for the extra precision, Assassin Signet for the extra power, and Smokescreen. Smokescreen is sort of like the feedback for Thief. It can blind foes, it blocks projectiles, and it can stealth your party. So it is really kind of like the all-star thing for Thief as far as utility goes. So someone was asking earlier how I manage my inventory on Thief, because when you switch between the short bow and your sword pistol, it really messes up your inventory. Basically, I don't operate when I'm in a dungeon with my inventory. I try to use my hero panel as much as possible. What I'll do is at the beginning of the dungeon, I'll drag my hero panel over so it's like this. And then you can press H and it'll always be there. Unlike your inventory, which resizes itself, hero panel will always be there. And if you're going and you say you want your short bow, bam, double click, there you go. Oh, you want your sword back, double click, right click, equip an offhand, bam, and then your sword's back. And if your inventory gets rearranged because you get a new drop that takes the place, I mean, whatever. It happens at the end of the dungeon. When you go back to your inventory, you can sort it out. So, short bow. There are some utility things I was talking about. The number one is the Smokescreen cluster bomb. People tell me all the time that they encounter terrible pugs where they have a thief in their party, and the thief doesn't even know how to do Smokescreen stealth. So I want to show that just in case anyone's watching. So maybe it's a skill they don't have. They've never heard or seen anyone do this. So you drop Smokescreen, and you just cluster bomb into it. And you stack up stealth for your party. And this other thief is helping me. He's such a nice guy. And you see you get up to 13, I think 14 seconds of stealth. And your party can then go on and do the trash run and continue on your way. If you need more stealth than that, I will switch my Assassin Signet out for Shadow Refuge. And that will stealth everyone. But usually Signet of Agility doesn't leave my bar. If, however, you have a Ranger in your party, you can go back to the... Oh, stupid underwater thing. But you can use Assassin Signet instead of Signet of Agility, because the Ranger will help you get to 100% chance to crit as is. Back up stealth again. Now you can run. So hopefully all the thieves out there who didn't know how to stack stealth with Smokescreen now know. And they can be in pugs and be loved and appreciated for how good thieves are and everything thieves can do. So utility-wise, or elite skill-wise, Basilisk Venom used to be really good. They nerfed it hard. You used to be able to interrupt people through Defiant with Basilisk Venom. There were quite a few bosses, My Trin and the A-Bomb in Arop Path 2 being the most noteworthy, where you could use Basilisk Venom to interrupt the bosses. Well, they fixed it so that if they have Defiant, Basilisk Venom does nothing. So Basilisk Venom goes back to the dumpster for PvE, and you won't be able to use that to full effect. Thieves Guild is pretty much a straight DPS increase. Some bosses will be able to kill your thieves quite early, and you probably should just learn which ones those are. Other bosses won't have much of a way to kill them, and your thieves will just do DPS. One thing to bear in mind is that the thieves will use Scorpion Wire, and they will pull a boss. If you are in a situation where you're trying to keep the Defiant stacks off of the boss, because your warrior is going to do a well-timed Mace 5 to interrupt the boss when he does his big attack, you don't want to use Thieves Guild, because it will put Defiant stacks on the boss and will be a bad time, and your party will hate you. Dagger Storm, this is kind of like my default elite. just because it gives stability, and when you need stability, you really need it, and it is a projectile reflect. When all else fails, if a boss is shooting you with projectiles, you can dagger storm and reflect the projectiles back at him. So that is that. I'll go through some of the other utility skills that have pretty good uses. So I like Scorpion Wire. It is a 1200 range pull. If you absolutely have to pull a boss, which happens a bit, you can pull them pretty far with Scorpion Wire. Like, you can see that's a pretty meaty pull. The distance it pulls is really good. There's a lot of situations for Scorpion Wire to be advantageous to you. And find pretty clever tricks to take Scorpion Wire. Shadow Step is good for trash runs. It's good for, or it was good for fighting Lupicus, but I think most people are using Roll for Initiative now. If you have absolutely no use for Smokescreen, you can switch to Infiltrator Signet for the extra initiative regen, which would be a DPS increase. There are uses for Shadow Trap. Where is it? Shadow Trap will help sort of function like a Mesmer portal for you personally. So there's a lot of creative uses for that. Roll for Initiative, I touched on it earlier. It's good for Lupicus Souls. It's a free dodge and gives you initiative back. It's pretty darn strong. You roll back. That. Ambush Trap, I don't really use that. The Venoms, don't really use those. Not in PvE anyway. But that is basically it for Thief. Oh, I want to touch on the heal. Signet of Malice is my all-purpose heal. When you're just attacking, it is really good, especially with dagger attacking so fast and sword cleaving. You can way out heal the warrior healing Signet even. So Signet of Malice is definitely one of the most powerful heals in the game. The active heal is only 3,000. It's not huge, but it's on a super short cooldown. So healing. So Signet of Malice quite strong. Withdraw is a heal I use for the super hard boss fights. Like Lupicus, I will use Withdraw. Arch Diviner, Mossman, I use Withdraw. It's a free dodge, and it is a pretty decent size heal. So you're not only avoiding attack, but you're also healing at the same time, and it's on a pretty short cooldown. So Withdraw is a good PvE heal for the tougher boss fights out there. So questions I've seen. Are you running Sword Dagger? I do not care for Sword Dagger. I know one of the guys in my guild, Card, who plays Thief, likes Sword Dagger. I feel like most situations, if I'm using Sword, it's because I'm fighting trash mobs, and if I'm fighting trash mobs, Black Powder is better. And if I'm fighting bosses, Dagger is better. So I can kind of... I feel like Sword Dagger is sort of a middle ground between the two that I don't need. Xenoclone asks, what is the best DPS if you really want to range something? Probably Staff Ellie or Engineer with Grenades. So that's about it for Thief. I've gone into some pretty deep depth on Thief. I happen to be playing Thief a lot, and I'm pretty... so hopefully as better understanding of... Alright. I am going to switch now to Warrior, and Oh, Rune MF asked a good question. Do you have any tips for being better at using your steel, like in a rotation or something? Yeah, actually, one thing you can do with your steel is with the Kleptomaniac trait, it gives you additional initiative when you steal, 2 additional initiative. So what you want to do is when your initiative dips below 6, which will remove your 10% damage boost, you'll steal to go back above 6. So that's basically your trigger point. You might want to steal like right after your first Cloak and Dagger backstab.